like I always say, when it's John Crump live without John Crump live. I'm live. I'm not John Crump. I'm Flying Rich. And let's get straight to it. We have, I almost want to say a friend because Dexter, you do like all the same stuff I do.
Yep, we're we're
And
we're kindred
we
spirits.
we uh, used to be in the same hood. I mean, I grew up on Long Island. I worked in Manhattan and all that kind of stuff. So we're probably within 25 miles of each other on a regular basis.
Probably, yeah.
You're a little low.
Pardon me?
Oh, I don't
Can,
know if it's your
can,
volume's just a little low.
sorry. Oh, I thought you meant my chair. I'm like, I was like, pull up the chair. Avoid tiny head
So
syndrome. One second, one second, one second. I'm gonna raise this up a second. How is that? Is that better?
yeah, that's good. That's good.
Beautiful.
So and our friend of mine from Orlando, he's a FFL, and David says City of Dreams. I think David also has some history in New York. So you are the victim of the ATF because you decided the Second Amendment's for everyone, and you were doing Second Amendment stuff in Brooklyn.
Mostly, I'm the victim of the NYPD, but the ATF was definitely played a part, right? I mean, New York State, the case against me is a state case, but yes, ATF played a role in prompting the raid against my house in in April of 2022. Yeah.
So first off, you were running down the street with guns blazing, and that they said that guy, that guy. That's how they got you, right?
You, I see you got jokes. Oh man, yeah. No.
No,
Yeah,
no,
no,
you
no, 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 no.
because I don't remember seeing you at any machine gun shoots that I've been to, or
I missed all those. You know what I'm saying? I just,
or
yeah.
or posting 3D printed guns and stuff like that.
Nope, nope. Yeah, that's the thing. I never. I'm glad you mentioned that because yeah, in the year, since I got into gunsmithing, and I got into gunsmithing maybe a year, maybe 2 years before I was rated. Yeah, I never posted about guns. I never posted pictures. I never talked to people about it. Never bragged about it. Never texted about it. Never. It's like this was a private hobby, and something I hoped
Hmm.
was going to lead to my second career. And kind of merging these two worlds of like data engineer and weapon scientist. Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
but yeah, no. So yeah, wasn't posting anything, wasn't bragging about anything, wasn't talking about Fight Club, so to speak. And of course, also not in my role as kind of an online conservative. I wasn't posting anything. I wasn't talking any crazy shit out here, like and anything that would make a regular person, a regular man on the street think, that guy shouldn't have weapons. Yeah, just a normal law-abiding citizen, squeaky clean record, and yeah, got
Now,
raided.
when you say conservative, you're politically conservative.
Yes, sir. I refer to myself often as a Frederick Douglass conservative. I'm
Hmm.
non-aligned, so I'm not a Republican, certainly not a
Hmm. Hmm.
Democrat. I guess you might call me. Well, I mean, my conservative thought system is called foundationism, not foundationalism. That's something else, but foundationism.
Okay.
And we've got a little tiny organization called the Foundationist Society, and we get together and talk about things and share ideas. But
Okay, so
yeah,
you're talking stuff I'm not familiar with, but
yeah,
I do
no
say
one
I'm a
knows who we are.
constitutional conservative. But
Yes, sir.
so we have Christy Turtel, and Christy actually works for the Heller Foundation.
Oh,
She's
okay,
also working on the Trump campaign right now.
cool.
And I actually met Dick Heller at SHOT Show, and I got a picture with Dick. So I
Wait a minute,
got a
Heller as
Dick
in
pic.
Heller versus as
Oh
in
yeah,
the
oh
Heller.
yeah,
Wow, that's cool. That's really
oh yeah.
cool.
Oh, so I gotta tell you. So I've met a lot of people in the gun tube world, and I'm not like I guess when I met Eric from Iraq Veteran, I was like a little fanboyish. Now I don't
Now you don't sweat
fanboy.
it. Right,
Yeah,
right, right. Yeah.
but like I'm bringing Dick on the show, and I'm on the phone. I'm like, oh my god, I'm on the phone with Dick Heller, like the Dick Heller.
Wow,
I
that's
was like,
pretty cool.
yeah, yeah. So tomorrow Chris Wright is going to be on the show, and I'm not sure where Chris is from. He's from New York City. I think he's Manhattan.
Okay.
And Chris is going to be running for Congress, so that's why Christy says we got to link you guys up.
Okay. Sure.
So yeah, so yeah, like I'm pretty out about printing guns, ghost gunning, AR-15 lowers. I'm I've got two YouTube channels. Basically I'm doing this channel. I'm doing not so much gun stuff. I have Flying Rich Firearms where I do more guns, like exclusively gun stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to fork that a little bit because I do tech stuff. Like we're talking before, playing with single board computers and geeking out on that.
Yeah.
So you're totally gray man stealth on this. Nobody knows you got a GAT lab going on in Brooklyn.
GAT lab. Jesus Christ.
Well, you had an arsenal.
It was a massive
arsenal.
Not just an arsenal. A massive arsenal. Let me tell you, just very quickly, when the DA, after the raid, when the DA issued the press release, and they, because the story, I made like maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7 Glock style pistols, and I made maybe 8, not maybe, I made 8 AR style rifles, right? So, the DA's office does this thing with the press release, and they have a picture with the table with my weapons on it and stuff, and they were like, Mr. Talor had a massive arsenal. And like at that moment, the banks of the Rio Grande overflowed because the entire state of Texas pissed itself laughing. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And listen, and by the way, today, I'm calling out everybody. Today, all my friends on Twitter have been roasting the shit out of me. Like, they've been like, "Oh, you little 13, hey, little tiny 13 gun arsenal. That's very cute."
I just hold on. I'm going to show you my last project.
Let's
see. I'm dropping it in. Boom. So I built. I think 5 of those are mine.
Oh, so and you built those? These are like Astaire AUGs there.
Yeah. So the AUG. This is the coolest thing ever. I've had very little to do with the beta. I've done a couple of jigs. I actually got to reshare them back.
Yeah.
But when you buy the AUG parts kit for like $200-300, you get the stock, you get the bolt carrier and the gas block, which is the front part where the foregrip is.
Sure. Yep.
But you don't get the complete barrel and the receiver. So out of the black part, that's the receiver, not the green.
Yep.
Is carbon fiber nylon 3D printed.
Okay.
And basically it's an AR-15 barrel. So you lose the quick release where you 90-degree turn and swap the barrel out, which is kind of a stupid civilian feature anyhow.
Yes.
Because you can push the latch sideways and pull the whole barrel and receiver out and just slide another one in.
Yeah. That's cool. Now is that an 80% AUG or just like it's a serialized receiver AUG or what is
it? So nothing's serialized.
Okay, it's a complete part kit. So you do end up, you have to machine a receiver out still.
Well, all right. The receiver is all 3D printed.
Oh, the whole thing is okay.
So the receiver is 3D printed. So this is a demilled AUG. So you actually get a full auto fire control group. You've got to make it semi-auto. Boo-hoo! I had to cry a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
And you had to put denials in it, so you can't put a full auto fire control group back in.
Right. Yeah.
And
lock out there. Yeah.
The barrel assembly, instead of being like an AUG, basically it's a modified AR-15 barrel.
Okay.
Just slightly different profile, slightly different location of gas port.
Yeah.
And pretty much the barrel extension on the AR-15 just has to be shimmed out a little bit because the bolt lugs are a little deeper on an AUG.
Yes. Right, so
it's exactly the same as an AR, just a little deeper.
I see. So you gotta get it so that it locks the bolt will lock correctly when it goes into battery. Yeah, that's very cool, dude. Wow.
So this is the like
that's awesome.
I totally geeked out on this. I'm like,
of course,
and I came into a couple of parts kits. Like I bought 2 initially and came into some more.
Yeah.
But this is like the crazy GAT stuff. But I want to show
That's
everybody
wicked.
what
That's
you
wicked.
did. So here it is. Uh, you did this, right? This is what the DA got you with.
I don't see anything on. I still see
Oh,
your OGS
hold
on
on,
screen.
hold on. I gotta share this tab. Yeah. So this is what the DA got you with, right?
You a clown.
Right. I
Wow.
mean,
You've got mad jokes. I see. I see you've got mad jokes today. Okay.
I mean, you
Very
had an
nice.
arsenal, right? I mean, the full.
Jesus Christ. Wow.
So
You know something I think you're like objectively worse than Larry. That's you know, oh shit. Now the music coming in. Oh Jesus Christ.
So-
Wow, really? Really? You're just gonna put my
So yeah, it's funny. So Larry and I worked at the same company together for like
Okay.
6 years. We
Oh,
had
that's
lunch like every day for 6
Nice.
years. So we're talking about Larry Sharp.
Yeah, Larry Sharp. Yeah.
Larry, who ran for governor twice
Governor
on the
of New York,
Libertarian
yes, sir.
ticket, and last time around they rigged the game so he could not win.
Yeah.
Which we've never heard of anybody rigging a political game before, because that doesn't happen. Because if you said it happened, you
Then
get
you-
thrown off YouTube.
Yeah.
Unless
Yeah.
you're what's the lady from? Was it Georgia? That thinks she's the governor.
Stacey Abrams. Stacey Abrams.
Stacey Abrams. Good.
Yeah.
Only
That's-
Stacey
only
Abrams is
Staples
right.
can- Yeah, right. Yeah, it's somehow if you having arguments about elections is non-democratic, I guess.
Yes.
You know, okay. I'm having a hard time following it, but whatever. You know,
So
that's right.
yeah, Reagan, who said what is it? Trust but verify. Yeah, that doesn't work.
don't verify. Trust and don't
That-
verify. That's right.
No good. So
By the
Yeah,
way, verifying things is racist. I just want to interject that.
I make my wife and daughter mad every time I check into a hotel and they ask for ID, and I'm like,
Mhm.
that's racist.
See, yeah, you're one of those guys.
Oh, I am one of those.
One of those guys. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so what we talking? Yeah, yes, geeking out about weapons in my home machine shop. And like we talked before, I make all kinds of stuff. I make furniture. I'm sitting in the control room of the second studio I built, the second recording studio I built. This is called Switching Yard Studios. The first one was called Magnetic Labs. I built that back in 1999, 2000 or so. Yeah, I got raided I got raided in April of 2022 by a joint NYPD ATF task force. Basically, SWAT team, busted down my door and, arrested me, took me off to Rikers, where I spent a week, and ransacked my place, took all my stuff, all my weapons and many of my tools.
But also your work computer, your personal
that's
computer,
right.
your
They took
work computer.
They took my daily driver, my desktop that you had everything on, my work
phone.
computer, laptop. They took my phone. They never returned any of those. They cloned my phone. They subpoenaed my email records. They seized my physical credit cards. They never returned those either. So that is by way of saying that New York State knows very well, right, that I'm not some asshole running around, committing. They know I have a clean record, right? They know that I haven't been out there trafficking weapons, implying that I want to traffic weapons, hinting at weapons, advertising weapons, winking and nodding about what. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, they know this
But
for a.
You were shooting squirrels in the neighbor's cat. And that's how they got you, right?
Jesus Christ. Shooting squirrels. Very nice. Nice one. You know what I'm saying?
Tree
Keep it up.
rats.
Yeah,
With the suppressor you made. You made a
Jesus
suppressor.
Christ. Somebody needs to make you a suppressor. Somebody to suppress you right now.
Oh, that's why I don't have my own show. That's why John
You see?
isn't here today. Nobody's here to suppress.
See, that's right. You're tripping up now because
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
No, but Yeah, they basically they found out about me because ATF has been going around to parts manufacturers um, demanding their customer lists. Some number of them complied, and with that data, they'd go around to different jurisdictions and say, "Get this guy, get this guy, get this guy." And because I live in New York, New
Right, right.
York, had a problem with it. Yeah.
So do you have an idea who like did a company rat you out? Do you know that or
Well, it's like we know that that was the procedure, and we know that they have that ATF and NYPD have NYPD actually has a dedicated task force for dealing with that incoming data, liaising with ATF and dealing with that incoming data. So,
yeah.
yeah, we know that that's and it didn't just happen to me. Like other people around the country have had
But
this
they
happen to
they
them.
can get people from stamps.com. They don't have to. So in other words, let's say company selling polymer 80s
Mm-hmm.
and you bought one from them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to get the record from that company.
Oh, I
They
know
can
they don't.
just be like,
I
oh,
know they don't.
everything went from stamps.com.
I know they don't.
Or,
I know. Yes, I know that. Look, they've been going through USPS 2 for some stuff, but I'm telling you,
yeah.
that's what they've been doing, and that's how they got
And
me.
I don't, here's the other thing. If
Hmm.
people don't know this,
Hmm.
USPS photographs everything that goes through the system
Yeah,
multiple times.
yeah.
So if they see a box coming from, let's just say rare breed triggers,
Hmm.
you know, or when they were rare breed was thinking they were too smart for the ATF, they called it red beard treasures
Hmm.
and was shipping stuff. It's like, yeah, they know.
Hmm.
They don't even have to go to stamps.com or get your customer list.
Yeah, but I'm telling you that they did in fact go around and get customer lists. I mean, just so
Hmm.
we know.
Oh
Just I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
we know it's like
I
yeah,
know different companies
right.
were hit up for that.
Right. And listen, I don't even, it's funny, I don't even blame the companies that much because, listen, I mean, some of these, you know how it is in the gun world, a lot of these companies are small, right? A
Hmm.
lot of
Hmm.
people are making a living from this stuff. So if
Sure.
the ATF is like, listen, we're gonna basically raid you into bankruptcy, well,
Oh yeah.
I get it, put it that way. I think the ultimate problem is we have a government that is, the ultimate problem is, well, is what Chesterton called the anarchy of the state. It is state
Hmm.
anarchy. It's
Hmm.
state lawlessness, right? That's the
Hmm.
problem. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, this the government is there to protect our rights,
Yes, sir.
and I, I mean, I grew up in New York. I mean, we've talked about this.
Yeah.
There's so many beautiful places on Long Island in upstate New York that are
Yeah.
just fantastic. I'm not going back. It's not happening.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. I mean, we have a Second Amendment right that the Bruin decision enshrined, and basically, I mean, the Bruin it was New York State against the I'm sorry, the state of New York against the New York State Pistol and Rifle Association.
Yes, sir. Mm.
And basically Clarence Thomas said, "Hey, you know, you can't do this and
Yeah.
you can't make all of New York a gun-free zone."
That's right.
And
Exactly.
they came out with a new what was it?
A new
The
tranche of legislation that
Concealed Carry Improvement
Improvement
Act,
Act, right? That basically
which
made all of New York a gun. Right.
made New York a gun-free zone and
Right.
did improve concealed carry.
Yes, that's right. I mean, this is the thing. Basically the governors, well, the governor of New York and, the people in charge. I mean, let's not forget Letitia James is the Attorney General of New
God
York
bless him,
State,
man.
right? And these people basically, well, look, they've decided that might makes right. That's it.
Yeah.
They've decided that it is not to their taste to live in a nation of laws. They wish to live in a nation of whatever I say goes, and might makes right. And so we don't like that law, so we'll make a different law, and everyone has to conform to that. That's
So
that's
Letitia
that's their
James, she
choice.
ran on throwing Trump in jail. And
I,
Kathy Hochul just recently said nobody else have to worry about prosecution like we did against Trump. That was just a one-off. Where
that was just a
we
one.
only
I didn't catch.
she
Yeah. I have
she
all of those people.
basically
Yeah, I have all those people on media blackout. So I don't know, but tell me, go on.
she basically, to paraphrase her, said, "No, we're just going after Trump. Nobody else has to worry about it." We're like,
Oh wow,
hmm,
that's amazing.
hmm,
I mean, so that right. So that tells you again. That's what I say. Like, it's not just my assertion. You just listen to what they say. It's clear. That's how
that
they. That's how they get down. Okay, right?
that's crazy. I
Yeah.
mean, the amount of crazy going on in New York is just astronomical. And
Yes. Yes.
and I
Yes. And
mean, I know you got family. Your family's all in New York, right?
yes, my family's all in New York. My daughter lives here. So that's the thing. When people say, "Well, just get out of New York," it's like, well, first of all, I've got court dates. You know what I'm saying? So that's right. But also, it's like, no, I'm not. I'm not. I'm a citizen of the United States of America. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's like, no, I'm not going to sit in the back of the bus because you wrote a new law
No, you
last
can
year
ride on
or
the
five
bus. You
seconds
just have to
ago.
sit in the back. Enjoy.
Like I said, I'm not going to sit in the back of the. I'm not going to enter the library through the colored entrance. And it's like I don't know what to tell you. It's like my rights are all first class rights because I'm a first class citizen. Now,
Amen.
if not New York State believes that might makes right, well, very well. They have they've got the arsenal. They got the real arsenal, right? They've got the police. They've got this. Okay, wonderful.
Right.
That I can't stop them. Okay, but I can talk about it, and so that's what I want, and that's all I want. I make people. I've had a lot of people, even some on the right, unfortunately, make a lot of snarky comments. First of all, a lot of supporters on the right, and God bless you all. A lot of strong 2A patriots. God bless you all. But I have had a lot of people say, "Well, what did you think you were doing? Da 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 da. New York is this and that." It's like, and as far as I'm concerned, none of that matters. In other words, like I'm going to stand my ground where I am. This is where I
Hmm.
live. This is my home. New York is a beautiful state, actually. And New York City is a beautiful city. It's been
Hmm.
run into the ground by lawless progressives and Democrats. And by the way, I'm
Yeah.
politically non-aligned, so I'm not a Republican.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
Republicans have their own problems, which you will see me light them up about online regularly. Okay, but I'm of no party, right? And but yeah, that's what we have. We have a beautiful American state and an American city being run into the ground by lawless, statist Democrats and progressives. The same thing is true of Chicago. The same thing is true of East St. Louis. The same thing is
All
true
right.
of
Yeah.
Boston. Okay, so and here's the thing. I understand people feel like they need to get away from X or Y or Z. I'm not mad at anyone if they move or if they take their
You're
family
just talking
someplace
about me.
else, right? Which is fine. No, seriously. But what I'm saying is, it's the mindset that's a problem. The
Hmm.
mindset is
Hmm.
what the problem. Do you understand what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It's
Well,
like we are
you're
going
staying
to
and fighting. Like
well,
I cut and ran. That's
but I'm not. But that's not the point. Isn't to compare me with you, because you may have like your reasons were your own and they're not my
hmm
business. What I'm
I
saying is
I
I'm
had.
talking
I
about
mean,
the
it was
way we
other
think.
reasons, but
You,
I'll
you
tell you how it happened. I
w-
I was working. You know where they filmed Duck Dynasty in Monroe, Louisiana.
no.
I was working there,
Okay.
and I had a truck. I had a 2007 Envoy. This about 10 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I was registered, insured, blah blah blah, in New York. My house in New York. My wife
Yeah.
was living in Florida at the time, and I would have had to have brought it back to New York to get a valid inspection. I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
not taking
madness.
3 4 days
No.
off.
Right.
Do you know how easy it was to become a Florida resident and
Yep.
register my car in
And
Florida? My
just
car,
be done. Yeah.
I just had to have a cop sign an affidavit with the VIN number and the
Oh,
mileage.
that's beautiful. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was it. Boom.
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
Florida resident. My truck is, now Florida plates.
Good to go.
Done.
Yeah. But like I said, you don't. First of all, no one needs any reason. I mean, this is America, right? You can move for any reason or for no reason. So I'm not talking about where people choose to
Yeah.
live.
Yeah.
That's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is that in our politics, in our political discussions, especially as conservatives, we
Hmm.
are turning off a lot of people. Listen, I'm not special. There are a lot of people like me. There are a lot of people who are very conservative. I'm conservative. I'm not a Fox News conservative, right? I'm conservative because I grew up in working class black America. I'm conservative because I grew up in working class black America, okay? And there are a lot of people like me.
Oh,
You
yeah.
meet them everywhere, right? So conservatives as such in the national discussion, when we talk about what to do next and so on and so forth, turn off a lot of people like me by pretending that our cities, our beautiful American cities, are not American cities. And
Hmm.
that our so-called blue states are not part of America. And here's the thing, the progressives, the lawless Democrats, the gun grabbers, they don't say that. Have you ever heard a progressive Have you ever heard an anti-gun person say, we're not going to try to do anything in that state, it's too red? Have you ever heard them say that?
Mm-mm.
Have you ever heard
Mm-mm.
them say, "Oh no,
No.
that's fine. We're just going to confine our efforts to these 4 or 5 states that are already blue, and the rest of
Right.
the nation can go"?
Yeah.
Have you
Good
ever
points.
heard them say that? Have you ever heard Have you ever heard communists say that?
No. No. You're
Okay,
right.
well then, so if their ambitions are maximalist, yeah, and we conservative want to salami slice ourselves into the smallest possible unit so we can have that grand Ayn Rand Atlas Shrugged moment and retreat
Mm-hmm.
to our mountain strongholds. Who do you think is going to win?
Yeah, you're right.
You
I
think
want to add
that,
your
yeah.
lawyer in.
Yeah, oh yeah, he's
He's
Venute's here. Cool.
backstage.
Yeah.
How's it going? We haven't met, but I've seen you on Larry Sharp's show.
Hey, how are you?
You know, Venu,
So,
can I just say something? Venu
yeah.
thinks he's cool. You see those sunglasses? Venu swears. Look at this. Look at this.
I overheard some of your conversation. I just got in. I heard you talk about red state. Well, I'm in a red state, a sort of red state, I guess. I'm in Florida at the moment.
we're in Florida.
I'm in Hollywood, Florida. I'm waiting.
Oh,
to
okay.
go
I'm
to
north of you. I'm in Jupiter.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm waiting to go when we're done with this. I'm going to hop in to box over here at Flacco's Community Gym in Hollywood,
Nice.
Florida. So
Nice.
I'm
No,
down here
cool.
for the week with my kids. They're off from school. New York City public schools are off, so
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we're down
Yeah,
here. For the
I'd
week.
invite you to come up and shoot my 50 cal. But it sounds like you're busy
That's
with the wife
intense.
and kids.
Well, the kids, no, not the wife. They're just the kids. So
Oh, the kids? Yeah, yeah. That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, Florida's well, okay, so Florida is one of 4 states in the country that you can't open carry in, believe it or not.
Mm.
The gunshine state.
The gunshine.
And one car fast said Florida's full of rhinos, yeah, unfortunately. So yeah, so how did you come upon this dangerous felon?
That's
Jesus
privileged.
Christ.
I mean, he's scary. I heard you're also a white supremacist.
Me?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Or him?
No,
or him?
Dexter. Dexter's a
Oh,
white
oh.
Yeah,
supremacist.
okay.
I was like, Venu's definitely white supremacist. He went to Catholic school and everything.
Yeah. No, Dexter, we were fortunate to be connected through a mutual connection. And, I was able to meet with Dexter when he was initially incarcerated at Rikers Island. And a member of my firm, one of my lawyers, had done his arraignment when I was out of
Mhm.
town. And then within a day or two, I'd come back and we were in Rikers and meeting with Dexter. And then he was able to make, bail. And we've been fighting this case ever since. So
Now, is the defense going to be like the Bruin decision, Heller? What is your defense
Well-
for him?
well, those are things that we can only raise in papers. So we cannot argue that at trial. So that's really important to understand. We cannot argue as a lawyer. You are not allowed to argue the constitutionality of a statute to a jury. So
Okay.
we have filed motions, and we did something. So judges don't want to admit this, but basically, when they're confronted in this state, or at least when I say this state, I mean New York. In New York, the Bruin decision was like a seismic. I mean, it was like 9.0 on the Richter scale. They
Brilliantly
knew
written.
Yeah, they knew
Very
it was
tight.
coming.
Yeah.
They knew it was coming, and their response to it was basically to enact laws that were almost the same as it was pre-Bruin.
Well, it made it worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
The CCIA was just a total train wreck compared, with
Yeah.
Bruin. Bruin said don't do it, and that's what they did.
Right. So they included this good moral character clause and trying to deal with it. But the thing about it, and right from the get-go, you saw the arrogance, the hubris of Governor Kathy Hochul in her first press conference dealing with this, calling this whatever they called it, reckless, or Mayor Adams said something similar. And they did not want to deal with reality, because the reality is that, and I said this in one of the news articles that had contacted me, I said, eventually New York will become like Texas and Florida, but maybe I'm wrong. I thought Florida was one of, states where it was better, but
well, you can conceal carry. They have permitless concealed carry now also.
Okay.
But
yeah.
you,
So I mean, the Bruin decision just basically reaffirmed what had been in effect since the Heller decision 15 years earlier. So, but remember, neither Heller nor Bruin forbade a state. I mean, it didn't say that a state cannot enact laws that regulate firearms carry. They just said that they have to enact laws that are consistent with the Second Amendment. So certainly the arguments that are there, for example, for states to regulate, individuals convicted of domestic violence, maybe mental health, there are things that are there that states can do. But by enacting almost the exact same thing, and then in New York City in particular, basically really reducing the number of people who actually could get a pistol license, you've did what Governor Hochul said she was going to do, which was basically ignore the Second Amendment, ignore the Supreme Court. So, what we did is, when judges are confronted with stuff like this, their central command comes together and they get their lawyers to come up with what's called a bench brief. So that means a basically a cut and paste job. That
right. So how do you interpret this?
Right, and this is what they're instructed to do. Now, it was interesting. There was just a lawsuit unrelated to us, unrelated to guns, that had just come out and said that the Office of Court Administration, which is the body that governs New York State courts, didn't have to reveal whether there was some game plan in effect unrelated to guns, some other topic which escapes me at the moment. But the thing about it is, there's no doubt that they got together and they said, okay, how do we beat Bruin, right? How do we distinguish it? Meaning saying that our case and these cases don't have anything to do with Bruin. So what they did is come up with an argument, which is a decent argument, which is that you can't challenge a statute or your arrest on Second Amendment grounds if you didn't apply for a license, right? So you have to have what's called standing. So you cannot challenge the constitutionality of statute. And this is well settled law, like everywhere, is that you have to have standing in order to challenge a law. So that means you have to be personally affected by this, right? So you can't, make an argument that, hey, I'm going to challenge the constitutionality of this. This is their argument if you never applied for a license. So here's the thing. We knew anecdotally, meaning like we knew from the news stories, that it was very difficult to get a license in New York, right? It's one of those things that, we've you have to have a real, like, you've got to be like.
So I'll tell you a story right here. My flight instructor in Bayshore has an auto parts store. He has a carry permit. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So he has an auto parts store and he has a carry permit, and he has to justify every year that he brings X amount of cash to the bank to deposit. That's why he has to have a carry permit. But the New York CCIA made it so he can't take his gun to the bank.
Madness.
Yeah, so madness. That's the only kind of person really could get a permit. So we knew that they were going to use the standing argument, because judges were rejecting all these arguments. So the chief public defender in New York is called the Legal Aid Society. And they have some very, sharp people in their appeals bureaus. And they were challenging all these convictions on, Bruin grounds. But all of their cases were rejected. It went up to the highest court in New York, the New York's equivalent of the Supreme Court.
Right.
Because remember, state and federal systems run parallel. So,
Correct,
but this
yeah.
is a federal issue, and they said that they denied these cases. They denied the appeals because none of these defendants had asserted that didn't have standing, and on these grounds. So we, knowing that, or I knew that. So what we did is we made a FOIL request, a Freedom of Information Law request of the NYPD, which is the body that issues gun permits in New York City. Right outside of New York, it's the different sheriff's offices, whatever it is, outside New York City. So they took like 9 months to get back to us, but they eventually we got them. And while this is going on, just so you know, the judges that we've had to deal with have just been nasty, right? So one of the differences, and I can't speak for any other state, I can only speak for New York. Most of my work is in federal court. I come from the state court system, but 70% of the work is federal, and this is a federal issue that's being played out in state court. In federal court, you get treated, if you are a good lawyer and you work hard and you get treated with respect, generally speaking.
Yes.
In federal court, right? They respect good lawyers.
I've seen that.
Court, in state court, if you're a smart lawyer and you're you work hard for your client, you get shitted on. Am I allowed to say that on this?
Sure, I don't care.
I gotta ask. I can't say these words in court, and I can't say this when I go on network news or whatever. So, so I feel free, freedom, Anyway,
right.
So when this judge, who I knew, because I know all these judges, I'm at a point, where I've been a lawyer from almost half my life, and I know all these people. I know where they come from. This woman who was his judge and I worked together, right? We were in the same office, not directly together, but she was elder to me. I mean, she was ahead of me, and she's just a nasty human being, right?
Whoa.
And treated Dexter like everyone else. And instead of understanding that, hey, there are unique circumstances in this case, when Dexter got arrested, the DA said this is a scourge of problems and ghost guns and all this stuff. And I brushed back against the DA and a couple of things. I said, Dexter Talor is no gangbanger. He's no violent felon. He's no guy trafficking. Do not equate him with all these other people. The guy went to Stuyvesant High School. The guy went to Johns Hopkins. He's a nerd, and and that's not who he is. But anyway, getting back to the argument, I'm sorry, it's sort of giving you background on all this stuff.
Yeah, sure.
The argument was that Dexter didn't need to apply for a license, because if he had applied, he would have been rejected. It would have been futile. So there is law out there that says that if you can demonstrate that applying for a license chances are slim to none, then you don't have to apply in order to establish standing. And that's our way around the standing argument. And of course, the newest judge, her name is Césaire. Anyway, she rejected, of course, with the same thing, like a cut and paste job. Right?
Yes.
I haven't even looked at it that carefully because I knew what the response was going to be. It probably has some other defendant's name in it, Dex.
They've got to.
They
ChatGPT did it.
They do that. It's not ChatGPT. It's their from Central
brief.
Command.
I
got
you.
The Politburo. This is what they argue. This is what they have to argue. So the reality is, so we lost the motion. Right? It was denied, and we're going forward to trial in about a month. We're scheduled for trial. They have played, and I've seen this before, and this is where, and the reality is that only liberals do this. And my views, I understand you're is it fair to say you're a conservative? Is that fair?
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm a libertarian. right? I would
Hmm.
not call myself conservative or liberal. I mean, I'm certainly, I would say, centrist to the maybe perhaps slightly right of center, if you were to pin me down. But it's only in New York City, because in New York, we have a one-party system. There does not
Hmm.
exist a two-party system. In New
Yeah.
York City,
Yeah.
it's a one-party system, and the one party is allowed to get away with murder. And they can do all this stuff and play these games. And so what they do is that the prosecutor's offices are very cognizant while they talk about diversity and how they want to be an office that reflects the diversity of the borough. And New York City is one of the most diverse places, in
Oh
the
yeah. I mean,
world.
I work
And,
there. I know the
and
deal.
right, and certainly, Brooklyn, where his Dexter's case is being prosecuted from, is certainly a diverse borough. What they did was, so the original prosecutor on this case was a really, he was a, as far as I was concerned, a very respectful, very diligent prosecutor doing his job, right? He's not the one, he's following orders, right? But he was
Hmm.
very
Hmm.
respectful. He was very a decent guy. We had a very nice professional, because one of the things in the criminal world, which is not true in the civil world. In the civil world, lawyers can be very nasty, and lawyers can get very nasty with each other. But in the criminal practice, there's a certain bit of respect that the lawyers have between each other, which is, hey,
Hmm.
you know what? You're doing your job as a prosecutor.
Right.
I'm doing my job as a defense lawyer. We extend each other professional courtesies. And this attorney did that. And
Hmm.
he seemed to be a bright guy. Listen, he's following the playbook. He's
Right.
just following orders. He was
He's
very,
playing
but he
his
wasn't.
role. Yeah.
Right. He wasn't a dick about it, right? Some prosecutors can be dicks about their role and really get drunk with power. And he wasn't like that. He seemed to be at least a decent, guy. And on a personal level, Dexter saw him in court. He handled himself with decorum. The reason I bring this up is he was white. And now, as we are actually going to trial, they've now changed him. He's no longer the lead prosecutor on the case. I don't even think he's even on the case anymore.
Oh wow.
They have replaced him with a black attorney.
Hmm. Hmm.
And they have done this to me throughout my career. Whenever I've represented a client who's of color, and even when I haven't, when I've
Hmm.
had white defendants, they will always put a minority on the other side, even if the prosecutors were originally all white. Right?
Hmm.
So they're doing that here to neutralize the
Any
appearance
stigma? Yeah.
that a white prosecutor is going after Dexter. But this new kid, I don't even know anything about him, has to get caught up pretty quickly.
Hmm.
Because this case was put on for trial a couple of weeks ago, and he got basically a month adjournment.
So if
To
you
try the
can't
case.
argue Bruin, what's your strategy without giving anything away?
Yeah, I mean, look, he were arguing intent, that this man
Hmm.
possessed no criminal intent. The statute says, so this is really important to understand, and people who are not from New York or states like New York, the very possession of guns in New York is considered violent.
Hmm. Yes. Yeah.
And
It's a
and
violent felony. If right.
right. So they charged Dexter with the intent to use unlawfully, amongst a bunch of charges, right? The
Well, there's
very
only
possession of
37, so
it.
The man said only. You know something?
So, exactly. They have charged Dexter, and this is why he's facing so much time. And some of them can be, if convicted, will be used consecutively.
oh shoot. Yeah.
It's that the mere possession of these guns is the intent is that he intended to use it unlawfully.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
my argument will be that Dexter had no criminal intent, and
Hmm.
the reality is that and I'll say this under the law, that's possession, is a problem, And we have played this out in our papers to deal with losing, right? So Dexter is a unique human being. He is in my in September, I entered my 24th year of legal practice. My first 6 were as a prosecutor in that very office. And the last 18 have been in private practice. In my 18 years of private practice, I've never had a client like Dexter who understands that the case is bigger than himself, and that he may go to prison, because the way that it works is that we believe that the case, if it gets to federal court, Dex is going to get cleared.
Oh yeah, because in federal court, then you can do Bruin and all of that, correct?
Well, you still have to deal with Bruin in New York. New York is just saying that Bruin doesn't apply because Dexter has no standing since he never applied for a license. So that's what they're saying. So we've attacked the constitutionality of the current regime under Bruin. So they're kind of sidestepping our argument, right? And then they did something which I thought was cute. They said that Dexter would have met the good character standard, right? So they're giving a compliment with the backhand,
Right.
you know?
Right. And we have that in writing, which is great.
Well, now let's. So you have to have a permit to purchase a firearm in New York State, and there's no legal way for you as a New York resident in New York to manufacture a firearm at home, is there?
No. So that's the thing. And see, the beauty of Heller, and even in Bruin, Heller basically said that that you cannot ignore the Second Amendment and lawful purposes such as self-defense in one's home, right? So Dexter was building in his home. There was never anything regarding him and selling firearms or using it for any unlawful purposes.
I'll be right back. Hold on.
Sure. So this is the most casual that I've ever done a interview.
Pretty casual.
Sorry, no, my wife just came home and she calls to the dog, and you don't want to hear, my wife talking to the dog.
No worries.
So what you're saying is the way around possession of a firearm is that you had them legally in your home. You weren't taking them out of your home.
Yeah, that's the argument. I'm gonna argue. Listen, I know the DA is watching right now, so I'm just gonna say that we're gonna argue Dexter is not guilty because there was no intent. They have to prove intent, right? Okay. That's not a surprise on my part. Now they're gonna argue that's hogwash, that's nonsense.
Now, I don't know if it would help, but hold on. Let's see. Do I have the image here? Let me share. People like me, I do the same thing. I'm a cloud engineer like Dexter. I do all of that geeky stuff, and
so it means you guys are just both way smarter than me. Because I wasn't smart enough to get to become an engineer or become a doctor, so I went to law school.
So I completed these AUGs, like 5 of them are mine, not all of them. But I built them just because I thought it was cool. And I'm setting up, left-hand and right-hand ejecting and 300 blackout and whatever. I've got literally a box of AR-15 lowers that I built. I got a box of Glocks that I built. Guys like, me and Dexter, we geek out on this stuff. We think it's cool. And just love building.
I mean, that's half the problem. It's like we have governments that are fully populated by people who don't know what's cool. Do you know what I'm saying? God bless them. God bless them. They didn't grow up with cool stuff and with cool people.
Right. And I hate to say, I finished a 2 month contract in Delaware in a data center, and I was riding around. I hate to tell you, if they thought Dexter had an arsenal in his house,
That's what they're calling it. Yep.
That's what they got. A massive. Hey, let's have a little respect here. Do you mind? Say the whole phrase. Massive.
massive arsenal.
Thank you.
You need to make a T-shirt. I have a massive arsenal.
Yeah, but then my friends from the UK would roast me for that and be like, "I've got a massive arsenal."
Oh, all right. I want to drop in the chat here. So this is the Give Send Go to help you raise money for your case, because I want to make sure I had that here. I personally, I love being in Florida. I 3D print guns all the time. There's a Gatling gun, a hand crank Gatling gun that's coming out, and I'm excited to print that, and it'll make me broke on ammo. But I just think it's a fantastic hobby. I encourage everybody to do this kind of thing, and I love firearms. I have experience doing machining work, and I just love the pure physics of it, the technology that goes into it. I just find it incredibly interesting.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have a carry permit. My wife has a carry permit. None of my massive arsenal has done anything wrong, or I've done nothing wrong with my massive arsenal. There's hundreds of thousands of people just like that out there.
Yeah. I mean, again, the problem is that especially among New York's, I guess, would you say New York's elite or New York's, I don't know what you'd call them. There's kind of this anti-gun, anti-coolness, really, kind of sentiment and ethos has sunk in and fermented over the last 20, 30,
absolutely.
40, 50 years.
Well,
and
it's because they don't own guns.
Like Pardon me?
They don't know anyone that owns a gun.
Correct.
They don't know anybody that shot a gun.
Correct.
So if you had a gun or more than one gun, you're a maniac.
Yeah. Well, look, again, we have to be honest. Part of this problem, part of this has nothing to do with the legal system as such. Part of this has to do with the fact that we chose to kind of throw away our industrial heritage as a nation some time ago. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, you think about New York City, you think about, New York City itself has industry in its bones. Do you know? Like, I mean, the High Line Park used to be the High Line Railroad line where literally trains used to come in and pick up and drop off materials or finished products from factories on the west side of Manhattan. Like, like New Jersey has a whole neighborhood called Ironbound. Do you know? Trenton is right there. The slogan used to be Trenton makes, the world takes. Do you know what I'm saying? Ohio. I mean, I remember when I went to machine shop in high school, we had like, Cincinnati lathes and milling machines.
Yeah, the Bridgeport mill.
Bridgeport, right. South Bend, okay? Like this is, so when we gave that up, it did more than just affect our material prospects as a country, right? It affected our thinking.
Oh, for sure.
It affected the way we think about the world and the way we think about what it means to put your hand on the world and change it. You understand what I'm saying? And making things, the cool thing about making what I'm always talking about with the Foundationist Society, and what you would hear if you listened to the series I did with my buddy Danny on the Foundationist Manifesto, is that that working class ethos, that blue collar ethos, the ethos of trade, of craft, of building, right? That does something good to your thinking, and you're a different kind of person. So we've
something
done
talk about the Protestant work ethic. Like as a techie, as somebody that does cloud engineering as my day job, I can't explain it to most people what I do. Even people in the technical field don't understand cloud engineering.
Sure,
but
exactly.
There's homes in Babylon, Long Island. I built an extension on the house. I built those steps.
Oh, wow.
I probably could drive by right now, and that'd still be there. Might be there in another 100 years.
Oh yeah,
If people understand that.
Yeah, there's parts of the city right now I could go to, and like those are projects that my dad worked on when he was a carpenter, who was in the union. So yeah, I just think that's, and I don't give Protestants or anyone else exclusive credit for this. I think this is just
Yeah, and I'm not
what
using that as
happens.
a
No, I know,
religious
I'm just
term.
messing around. I just mean
Hey, I
like,
went to Catholic school, right?
thank you, exactly,
We
right.
have the Catholic
So
work ethic.
exactly. So but the point is, when you make things, that's like production leads to innovation, but
Oh yeah,
production also
amen.
leads to a better kind of thinking about the world. And we've lost that. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a big deal. I love working with my hands. I love doing things. It's cathartic. How
Yes,
about
it
that?
is. Yes, it is.
We're the Catholic school guy. You missed that. You.
Cathars. Don't say Cathar. Wait a minute. Don't say Cathar around Catholics. they might start a crusade, purge you.
So, yeah, I mean, I love building guns.
Yeah.
I'm excited about the next build. I've got 3-4 builds planned out on what I'm going to do and make videos about. And it's just a shame in New York that you can't do these types of things. You can't experience that kind of freedom. I mean, I sincerely hope you win your case, and I hope it changes for other New Yorkers that they're able to keep and bear arms, and also just like our forefathers did, manufacture firearms on their own.
Well, thank you, and I would say that whether it's with my case or someone else's case, right? It has to change, right? It has to change, because the fact is, we are not going to save this republic by salami slicing it into the smallest possible units. That's not going to work. There's not going to be a national divorce. I'm very sorry. Okay. There's not going to be an Ayn Rand Atlas Shrugged moment where everyone goes into their mountain strongholds and watches the rest of everything burn. It's not going to be like that, because we have a government that cannot resist the temptation to interfere with nations on the other side of the planet. They are not going to leave you alone because you moved to Texas or Arizona or Montana or Wyoming or any place else. So we are going to save this republic together or not at all. And
So
Jesus Christ.
they're asking about my next build.
I don't can
That's
actually wait,
my next
hang on
build.
a second. You wrote leet script there. That's like M leet is what that is. Yeah? 1337.
Yeah. Oh, right. Well, that's somebody else's video. That's not my video.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I'm and actually
By the way,
Walter
Walter
built this 50 cal.
one second. Can I just interject here, because it's like the optics of this are horrible. I am not claiming that we will save this republic by force of arms. Your timing
And do you realize that the
your
DA
timing is shit.
is going to take a screenshot.
They're gonna take a screenshot of
that.
just that
Yeah,
thing and the voiceover.
Dexter, and they're going to be like, "Oh yeah, that's his lawyer over there too."
He thinks you're going to save this republic with a gun.
Right,
Exactly. It's just thanks, man.
I
Appreciate
did
it.
say that I hope that one day New York will be like Florida and Texas. Those are the
God
two states
willing.
that I
Amen,
have
brother.
God willing.
spoken about.
God willing.
God willing, yeah.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to pimp Safety Harbor Firearms. They actually build this is a 50 BMG bolt action.
Oh,
So they're
cool.
in the chat.
That's really cool. Yeah. Love
So
it. Love two of the ARs I built, Ranger and Wildcat, were actually bolt action ARs. Yeah. Yeah.
oh, okay. So
They
they're
had
not
the bolt
even.
action upper. They had the bolt action upper from Uinta Precision. Yeah. So basically.
Oh, okay.
But
So I was
an
gonna.
AR. Yeah.
I thought it was funny because you mentioned building polymer 80s, you mentioned building ARs, milling out lowers, but it
yes.
said assault rifles and other rifles. So I guess the bolt
First-
action were the.
No. First of all, I never built an assault rifle. Let's get that very clear.
I know that
Okay?
language.
Okay. So there is an Army specification for an assault rifle. It involves select fire, right? You can like single shot, automatic. Okay. I never built an assault rifle. I built AR-15s and one AR-10. The bolt actions. The bolt actions were bolt action. The rest of my AR-15s were semi-automatic, right? And then I had my AR-10, which was a semi-automatic AR-10. But
And most of the people watching understand those distinctions. Like
Sure.
some rando coming by the channel may not. So thanks for making that clear.
Mm-hmm.
And just personally, the founding fathers didn't say anything about what kind of arm. They just said arms.
Arms, yeah. Yeah. And well, here's
And
what's funny about that, by the way. I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of people, I mean, you can imagine, I get a lot of snarky comments, a lot of snarky, taunting, gleeful comments from self-described liberals or progressives who are delighted at the prospect of me going to prison. Hey, good luck in prison, da 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 da. Enjoy it, da da da. 18 years, good for you, da da da. Right? I mean, there was one on a Twitter thread. Actually, there were a few under that conversation thread with Spike Cohen a couple days ago who wrote up my case. Anyway, all that by way of saying, anti-gun people like to cite the technology that they think was in use at the time of
Correct.
But at the same time, they freak out about the idea of people making guns in their homes. This is why I never say ghost gun. I think it's a dumb term.
Right.
The
No,
correct term
ghost
is
gun is a crazy term.
the correct term is traditional gun, right? Because that is
Correct,
the traditional way of manufacturing American firearms in America. And that's exactly how people used to manufacture firearms
Correct.
at the time the Constitution was written. So it's like they want to have it both ways. They want to say, oh, you should only have a flintlock musket because that's what was around then. But then they also want to claim that that traditional manufacturing in your home is some special evil that requires a special response.
Well, call the New York Times and tell them First Amendment only applies to Benjamin Franklin era presses.
That's
and
right.
quill
That's
pens.
right. Exactly right. Yeah, it's just beyond silly. Yeah.
It is crazy, and the reason the more and more I read about our founding fathers, I realize what brilliant men they were, and we kind of get full of ourselves, thinking, "Oh, look at how smart I am." It's like, yeah, I don't know. These guys were way learned. They were very smart and they were very smart how they wrote every word, especially the Second Amendment. They fully understood arms. They didn't say muskets.
Right.
They said arms, and they could have said muskets.
Right. Well, I have to say, I just have to jump in because I think, it's true that they were very learned men, but I don't think that's what made them special at all. There were many learned men of the time. There are many learned men who go on to do terrible things. I think what makes the founding fathers special is their historical understanding and their skepticism. That is to say, they understood that it wasn't going to be good enough to make a system that worked correctly if good men were running it. That's what makes them special. It's not their intelligence per se. It's the fact that they understood that like at some point the legislature may be populated by fools and scoundrels. In fact, it was overwhelmingly likely that you would have a legislature full of fools and scoundrels. Right.
That only took about 50 years. Yeah.
Okay, and they understood that you might have a fool or a scoundrel in the White House or in the State House or anywhere else. They understood this, and they built an instrument, right, that was robust enough to withstand that. Yes, so that is what makes them amazing. They built anti-fragility into this system.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Absolutely. And they built checks and balances and
yes, sir.
In a way for us to amend the Constitution, like Constitution of States,
and
the federal government went crazy,
and a measure that militates against concentrations of power. That's what the Electoral College really is, right? It's an anti-concentration.
No, that's
measure.
racist. Also, that was racist. Also,
right. So so I just think that's it's our birthright, right? It's our legacy.
Oh, yeah. Amen.
That's
why we're not Canadian.
Don't start with the Canadians. They have enough Listen, have you seen their prime minister? They have enough problems.
She's fine. She's great.
Wow. That's the homeliest girl I've ever seen in my life. Hey man, listen.
Fidel Jr.
Listen,
Fidel Jr.
You
is
saw her
fantastic.
first. You saw her first. I didn't. You saw her first. That's all you, buddy. Go for yours.
Well, maybe Canada can annex New York State. I mean, that would be perfect.
Lost your mind? Have you lost your mind?
I mean, it's a border state. They might as well just
I better not. I better
Go for
not
the
say
grab.
anything. The less I say, the better.
Now, have you contacted any 2A organizations? I mean, I'm close to GOA. There's Second Amendment Foundation.
I've
Um,
yeah. I've already I reached out to National Association for Gun Rights. That was like
okay,
the first,
NAGR.
right? And they actually made me a lifetime member. And Chris
Okay,
Cooper,
good.
yeah, Chris Cooper from National Gun Rights reached back
Hmm.
out.
Hmm.
We did a video together. We did some time ago. We did a space. We co-hosted like a Twitter space together, and
Hmm.
I talked about my case and what have you. Um, but and gun policy,
Hmm.
what is it, FPC, right, Firearms Policy Coalition,
Hmm.
recently made a connection. So they asked me to email their guy. I did. I'm still waiting to hear
Okay,
back,
good.
but that's cool because FPC is really cool.
Hmm.
Now I've reached out to a lot of different people, and I have to say that most of them haven't responded. I don't take it personally. People are
Hmm.
busy.
Hmm.
Okay, there's a lot, and there's a lot going on. This is a big, like 2024 is a big year, right? So it's just
Right.
stuff gets lost in the sauce. But I mean, I can count on my hands the number of people who've actually reached back out
Hmm.
to talk about this case. Yeah. Same thing with conservative commentators in general, right? It's just I've
Oh
reached out
yeah,
to quite a
yeah.
few.
And
Never haven't heard back.
and I don't know if you guys are aware, but there's the auto key card case.
I know about that case. Yes.
So Matt Hoover, CRS Firearms, he's a
Yep.
friend of mine,
Oh, okay.
and basically they had a card
Yes.
with an etching of a lightning link, a light etching,
Yes.
and he got convicted of he made YouTube videos
Mm-hmm.
promoting the company selling them,
Yeah.
and he got convicted for 5 years of distributing machine guns.
I remember. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, I remember.
So I
Like
mean, it's
that piece of metal is a machine gun. Yeah. I mean,
yes,
yeah. I mean, so
yeah.
this is yeah.
So the problem, and I realize this, only after Matt's case,
Mm-hmm.
is the problem with the federal court system is that federal courts are in metro areas, and so Matt is a resident of Minnesota,
Mm-hmm.
no, Wisconsin
Mm.
resident.
Yeah.
They brought his trial to Jacksonville
Mm-hmm.
because the guy Justin Urban was manufacturing and like I think he lived in or around Jacksonville, and they tried them both together. They didn't separate the cases, but doesn't really matter because every state has a vast, if you look at a state map, red versus blue counties,
Mm-hmm.
almost every state, in fact, the entire country is red by county. But you get those metro areas like Jacksonville, or it could be Albany, New York, or
Mm-hmm.
Manhattan, the five boroughs in New York City,
Mm-hmm.
and they're predominantly blue, and that's where your federal courts are. So if you're talking a conservative issue in a federal court, I don't know that you're going to get justice.
Well,
That's
I just want to jump in here and say you're correct. You're half correct about the
Mhm.
cities. In other words, if you
Be happy to be 100% wrong.
well, I mean, I was being polite. You're 100% wrong because I've run the numbers, right? I run the numbers for a living, and the fact is, what you're looking at is in the cities, right, which end up voting Democrats into office. What you have is a single, double, and triple prime voters, right,
Hmm.
are the ones who are turning out, and everyone else is staying home.
Right.
That is, broadly speaking, that is what is happening. And when I say everyone else, it can be as much as 50% or more of the eligible voters sitting at home every
Hmm.
election. Go
Yep.
download the numbers for yourself. Go look at the Brennan Center's numbers
Sure.
nationwide for the 2020. Go look at the numbers for Boston, a very blue city, right,
Hmm.
quote unquote,
Hmm.
for the national in 2020. You had maybe 50 to 60% of the electorate, the eligible voters, staying home. And then the people who
Hmm.
actually voted, again, with a single, double, and triple prime voters, right?
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
so we have a problem. American conservatism as such has a problem in terms of its ability to strategize in and about
You're right.
urban
You're right.
areas and to
Yeah.
excuse their piss poor performance, right? What do
Hmm.
they say?
Hmm.
Oh, the blue cities are unreachable. We
Hmm.
can't
Hmm.
possibly. That's first of all, that's not. I'm a nobody with a day job. Okay.
Right.
So if
Right.
I could go and run the numbers and see, hey, hang on a second, you're just ignoring, you're basically writing off a whole bunch of neutrals,
Hmm.
right? You're writing off the people who are persuadable, right? And you're focusing on the hardcore ideologues who show up every time, and you're like, well, I can't persuade them. We'll persuade the neutrals, right?
Right.
And
Oh
so
yeah.
this is the thing, and the thing I keep pointing out is that we have to kind of re-engage with everything and everyone across the board, because again, the problem is not it doesn't hurt my feelings. This is not a personal matter. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's
Hmm.
not about me and how I feel. The fact is that we are facing an adversary who is playing for the whole chessboard, who
Oh
is
yeah.
playing for
Oh
all the
yeah.
marbles. Okay, they're not leaving anything out because it's too red, so we can't leave
Oh
something
yeah.
out because we think it's too blue. That's a recipe
Yep.
for disaster. So yeah.
Yeah. Right. We've been on for a little over an hour. I want to give you guys just a last couple of moments to wrap things up, tell people how they can contact you and support you. I'm going to drop again your give, send, go.
Thank you, sir.
So, Dexter, take it away.
Thank you. I would say first of all, let me thank all the people who've been supportive, supportive with their words, supportive with their donations, supportive with their humor. We had a hilarious time online today. Everybody roasting me about about making Lego guns. I just really appreciate everybody. I just think when I started gunsmithing, I thought that the 2A community online was like full of amazing people, and now that I'm in this situation, I don't think that, I know it.
Hmm.
These are some amazing people, some amazing Americans, and I'm proud. I'm proud to call them my compatriots. Put it that way, yeah. So that's one. Two, just for if you can hear the sound of my voice, understand that exposure is everything. You know, so anyone who wants to who A is 2A friendly and B wants to pass me a hot mic, I'm delighted, right?
Hmm.
Because again, the more people are paying attention to this, the better. The optics of this case, as my attorney would agree, are terrible
Hmm.
for New York State, right? Not
Sure.
for us, they're terrible for them, okay? But that presupposes that people are watching, yeah. So that's what I would say. And the last thing I'd say is just that we have to remember that it doesn't matter whether or not someone wants to live next to me, or whether you want to live in the city, or that's your business, that's your freedom, that's your right. But I'm saying this is our republic, this is our home, and I really do believe that all men are brothers. Now, you don't always
Hmm.
get along with your brother, right? Sometimes y'all are gonna fuss and fight and roll around on the lawn and what have you, okay? But when someone approaches your house with ill intent, yeah? When someone comes walking down the street with a can of gasoline and a lighter, I hope you and your brother, who were fussing and fighting 5 minutes ago,
Hmm.
have the
Hmm.
sense,
Oh yeah.
yeah, to put that aside for now and stand to and fight like men to defend your home.
Hmm.
And like I said, we're going to defend it all together or not at all. So that's it.
Amen. I completely agree with that. One thing I want to make sure people understand, I always hear this friend of mine, socialist friend of mine from Poland, he would tell me, it says, thou shalt not kill. I'm like, no, it's thou shalt not commit murder. You
Murder,
need to
which is
understand
different.
the translation. It's just conveniently
Right.
said, thou shalt not kill.
Hmm.
And the reason is you need to be, like you said, a man and defend your family, your property.
Right. But I don't. I would. Yeah. I would. The only response I would make is that why are we talking about killing? We
I'm
shouldn't be
just,
talking about killing at all,
I
ever.
just kind
Like
of
not
brought that
now.
up. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like
But
no one's talking about killing anybody. This is listen. This is the thing. The thing we need to understand is that jumping out kinetically is not necessary in terms of vanquishing this adversary. We have gotten to this point, to this dismal juncture, right? Because of
mhm,
AI. That is apathy and indolence. And that is the only kind of AI that anyone needs to take us out as Americans. It's apathy and indolence. And if we lose those habits, and if we go back to the classical virtues of governing our passions, yeah, and if we screw our courage to the sticking place, then we can get somewhere, yeah. But hyper individualism, yeah, and for that matter, Ayn Randism, you know, and heathen, pagan blood worship and skin worship is not going to cut it. We need to remember our logos, and that includes our ultimate logos and our secular logos, the Constitution. And if we do those things, we've got a shot. And if we forget those things, we neglect those things, we have no chance whatsoever. And that's it.
Can I add something here before we break?
Yeah, Vino, I was just going to hand it off to you.
Oh, thank you. In my career, I've never met anyone like Dexter. I mentioned that much, when I spoke earlier on today. A man who understands that this situation is bigger than him, and a man who's willing to sacrifice for a higher ideal. And I'm privileged to know him, and I'm privileged to defend him. And he is a great American. He's an inspiration. As you can imagine, in my profession, I represent some people who you may not want to have a drink with, right?
Sure.
People who you may not want to go to lunch with. And I make no judgments because that's my job as an attorney.
That's your job, yeah.
But I will say that when I meet someone like Dexter, it is an absolute pleasure. It reminds me of why I went to law school. It reminds me of why I became a lawyer, because as an attorney, I get to, be the power and fight the power. In this case, I'm fighting the power on Dexter's behalf. And, I'm privileged and I'm blessed. And I hope that, your viewers will come out and support Dexter, because this is a big fight. It is a long fight. And hopefully we can get Dexter free.
That's what I ask people is, like, please share this information. If you can contribute to the Give Send Go, fine, do so. If you can't, share it with a friend.
Sharing is big.
This video, any of Dexter's videos, because the more people understand that, hey, he's not a gangbanger, he's a tech guy, he's a guy that works with his hands and is just doing something incredibly American.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys, with that, I'm going to close out. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Tomorrow we got another good show. We got 2 more good shows coming on this week, and we got 2 more shows.